Hello, farewell. Yeah, hopefully. Hey, Fred Skimper, welcome. We have thermal baths in our village too. Interesting. There are quite a few here as well, but usually there is like a cluster of at least like a small town around it, not really a village. Hey Mort, welcome. Perfect timing. Good to hear that. Welcome, welcome. We have our resident Austrian here in the chat in Mort, and he wanted to be part of this because I appreciate it, so that he can verify anything I will talk about or disprove it. You know, if I start talking about something that's not right, feel free to correct me. Yeah, it was actually not like super long vacation wise. We came back quite quickly because for baths I feel like, you know, 3 to 5 days is like maximum. Unless it's in a big city, which this was not. So, you know, there was not that much to see, and the weather didn't really allow for much exploration. I wanted to go somewhere, but we were out for like 2.5 hours in the city and just absolutely roasted. Absolutely roasted from the sun. So, yeah, going like further was not a thing, even though there was a place I wanted to visit. Was some sort of ruined castle or something, like 2.5 kilometers away, maybe longer, but it was not meant to be. Yeah, maybe for a shorter period, like we said with Kate, we could go for extended weekend basically, if you really wanted to. But there are like more places to go to as well. Like lots of places have baths, so no like real reason to go to the same place. I mean, I was in Czech baths before. This is because, you know, I have something to compare it to. It's just I was not there like recently, mostly when I was much younger. But I still remember it. I don't have pictures though. We can search for it. I have the power of the internet. So here we go. So hello, welcome back. This is the first stream after vacation. I'm gonna be doing just chatting stream today. So new games. Instead, we're gonna be talking about what the vacation was like. So we were in Austria, which Austria is a neighbor of Czechia, and historically speaking, our two countries were one before the First World War for a very long time, and so you can expect the culture as well as the people and architecture to be similar, which proved a fact. The only difference is Austrians speak German, so you know you have that. While here, not many schools really teach German, which is a bit of a shame. It is kind of a thing that kind of persisted from the commie times, where some schools still teach Russian today, which, you know, extra languages are good, generally speaking. But I think just from geographic position, we should be learning German, not Russian. And like if there's a choice, and some schools teach French as well, but French and German, I mean, kind of, you know, the same. But from the geographic position of Czechia, we have two neighbors who speak German, so just naturally you'll be using it more than Russian, unless you really want to go there for whatever reason. So yeah, that's the thing. I'm gonna show you a map where this thing is. So this is called La de Taya, which is a small city on the border, basically. It's not very far away from the border to Czechia, and therefore like half of the staff were... Oh yeah, I was actually looking into that, but it looked like it is very low already. Maybe this? Is it better? I could also try to buff the mic, because this is like the lowest sliver I can really do. So hopefully it's just better. French and German are kind of the same. Unsubscribed and reported. I'm sorry, but I mean from utility-wise, not from linguistic reasons. It's just, you know, completely different. But utility, you could argue that you could get use of it more than the Russian for French, because, you know, lots of places still speak French. Like, you know, lots of places in Africa, you have Canada, you have like shit ton of places, but Russian is very specific to Russia and past Russian puppets. So, you know, the Eastern Bloc. You could talk to like older people here and they will understand it, or in Poland, or, you know, Hungary and whatever. Yeah, depends, but still, I think just from geographic position, due to how many neighbors we have and how many of them speak German, it's kind of odd that we don't teach more German. But it's just besides the point. I mean, yeah, there was again, it was a national language or official language here as well for a very long time, before the First World War. But it has basically disintegrated from society at this point. Like, no one, apart from people living in Sudetenland, basically, speak German anymore. And these people, only the old ones do, because those were assimilated. And also there was a law that drove out remaining Germans after Second World War from Sudetenland back to Germany. So, you know, historical things. I'm not gonna to tell you what I think about that, but still, just, you know, since we are on the topic, might as well talk about that. I'm gonna show you the thing. Where is the thing? The thing is here. Song was very epic in volume. Okay. Well, no, it's better. It's good. Why is it so big? Can I make this smaller? No. Just give me a second. This is... I had it before and it was very much smaller. I don't know why it's so massive. It's making me look very weird. Where is this? Okay, I found it. I think it was more common for people to learn German here rather than English too, not too long ago. Yeah, it makes sense for you as well. You're probably the biggest trading partner as well as southern neighbor, after Denmark, of course, is Germany. So, you know, also just from linguistically speaking and culturally speaking, Scandinavian is Northern Germanic culture, basically. And so, I think the languages are kind of similar. Not really, but it's like Slavic languages, like Polish and Czech. Like, I will not understand everything by far, but I can catch like every third word or something. It's usually how it is. So I suspect that's similar with your language. So it makes sense to learn something that's close culturally speaking as well. Okay, so this place, this is the actual bath, so Termela, but this is La Andertal, which is a city. You can see the border right here. So this is the border. This is Bohemia. This is Austria, and so the city, it's quite small, and the actual baths are like to the side of it. This is all like parking lots and whatnot. If I could show you like street view, I have some pictures. But mainly, so what you need to know is this place, it's not like regular baths. The baths I went to here in Bohemia are baths that have usually like a ginormous colonnade from like 1800s. You have like thermal springs basically just leading to pools, and it's very much about the medical side of things rather than just being a slightly fancier pool, which this was. More to the like it appeals to people who are not directly seeking like medical side of baths, but also just the fun of it. It's a water park basically. It doesn't have like slides. It has one slide in total, and it's only for kids. So it is still a bath complex. It has several pools. One of them is salt water. The others are regular water. The temperature was 34 and 36 points Celsius for these pools, and there were massage bubbles. You have massages as like procedures. You got different facets of baths as well, but it's just from the speaking visually. This was a hotel that was made fairly recently. Like I think it exists for like 10 maybe 20 years. Usually the baths I visited here were very old compared to that, and also that's why the construction and everything was more towards the medical side of things, I guess you could say. There were like cultural things like around those bath complexes. Here you would have a theater, you would have a big colonnade, you would have like nature parks, things like that. But this was slightly different. Mort says La is an old Germanic toponym meaning wetland, so it's just wetland on the river Thaya. Okay, makes sense. I didn't translate this, so I didn't know that. It makes sense. There were several fairly small rivers around. You can probably see that. Yeah. So yeah, quite a lot of water, and so even the ground around it is quite soggy. You had quite a bit of wildlife around. So when you like open the door to your apartment's balcony, you would hear frogs and whatnot because there was a small stream. They keep it with. They don't cut the shores of the small river, even though it could be done. The hotel was using, how do you call it? It's a robotic grass cutting machine, and they also had someone running the slightly bigger one. And so yeah, they would cut grass regularly, but for some reason they keep the ecosystem, I guess, kind of intact, where they leave space for these. Wetland creatures to thrive. So you have, even in the park itself, you would have tall grasses around the river itself in like a stretch of maybe 1.5 meters from each shoreline, so that because it is a ecosystem for these creatures. Same with the park itself. Actually, there was like a stretch of just uncut grass so that flying insects can thrive in there, and it's not just all cut into very small length, which is visually appealing, but it's not actually good for wildlife. Northernmost Austria and southern Bohemia are full of fishing ponds. It's where most of the fish production in Austria is done. Okay, interesting. I did see several of these. These are man-made, I think, but most likely like water was brought from. Oh, sorry. It was a big thing during Habsburg times, where people would intentionally create artificial ponds, basically, for fishing industry, and this was crucial to feed the ever-growing populations of the industrializing cities. And yeah, so fish was the food of the poor at the time, and it's riddled with ponds. You see these places. It was usually under the guise of like a noble would create several of these in his own estate, and he would have people overseeing them. That's how it was. Even today, there are lots, but lots of them were also neglected and destroyed during the commie times, because that's what communists do. They destroy everything. So we still have something, like some of it is left, but not that much. So how did we go there? We went from Prague. This is where we live. So from Prague we went to the main train station, and then just take a train directly to Brno. This looks like it's very long way. It's actually only 2 hours and 30 minutes with a train if you take a good one. And train travel is really good. So we went to Brno. In Brno, we had to board a bus. And then with a bus, it is unfortunately 2 hours. Because the bus stops in every fucking village 4 times. It's really bad. And so, yeah, that was the most infuriating part, and it took 2 hours with a rickety bus to get here. But that's on us, that's not on Austrians, because that's big. Actually, one time, there was apparently a train track before the Second World War. Then it was destroyed, and then it was never rebuilt. So, you know, otherwise we would go straight there by train, but it's not a thing. Speaking of frogs, a little off topic. Are frog legs delicacy in Austria? No. Yeah, I'm not sure how many more cultures than just French eat that, but yeah, they were keeping like ecosystem for the frogs intentionally, I think, because I heard a lot of frogs. I'm fine with that. They don't annoy me or anything. They're good. They eat insects. But I wouldn't eat them. Sounds like they should build more train tracks from Brno to southern cities. There are, but not directly to Ládetya. Because you see these yellow ones. I think this is train tracks. Is it? Or is it highways? I think this is a highway. Can I find a train track on this map? It's hard. There are tracks leading south, but not directly here. So the other closest way would be to go to frickin' Vienna, and then from there go with an Austrian bus, but that would be even longer. So we instead went, local bus straight there. Chinese like frogs. Okay. Hey, welcome. There used to be a train from Brno to Taya, but yeah, I just said that. I tried if I had a chance sometime. I'd try rabbit when I was in Hungary. Yeah, but like, you're comparing rabbit and frogs? That's like, I don't know how to compare it to, but that's not very similar. Rabbit is fairly regular food. From like the game family, it's actually the less intrusive food because its meat is kind of similar to chicken. It's just, it's game, but it's definitely less sort of cultural thing than eating wild boar from venison family or like, just hunted animals. But frogs is like...
From the comfort of my villa, hey, Claude, I perceive life here to be very good.
Rabbit is really not common here at all, especially not in restaurants. I see, right. In here it is, so that's why it seemed odd to me that you compared it. But I can see if you don't have it, usually, then it might be different, like new thing. But yeah, in here it's fairly common. And not only that, but, some people are fond of it and they like eat it fairly regularly as well. Even the reindeer is more common. It's insane. But it's just, different country. I think Finnish people like reindeer a lot. They like a welcome. I'm back. I had it. I had the trip and I'm back. So this is us talking about it. It happened already. It was just 5 days. So not an insanely long time. I don't think we ever plan to try the chicken of the pond. No, I wouldn't. If you really want to, you can, but thanks. I wouldn't want to. But for someone who likes to experiment with their food, it could be something to try. So what do we talk about? We talk about the baths and also the culture. So I was in Austria before, but it's a long time ago. It was basically when I was on high school, so it's like 12 years, something like that. Last time I visited Austria. It reminded me a lot of Germany. I visited Germany several times. Like, you know, countless, like 20 times in total. It was similar, but that's like the city itself. I'm gonna show you some pictures. It looks like your run-of-the-mill small Bohemian city. Basically, this is our Discord. I'm gonna show you the pictures right here. So yeah, it looks very similar to how you know, Czech cities would look like. You have some older buildings like this. This is clearly like 1960s, 70s, 80s style apartments, while you have like the 17th, 18th century main square stuff as well. This is clearly renovated, but I talk about this. This is a sign that this was, you know, this was common because the square itself had limited space, and so you would have shops in these places where it's like cut into the building itself, and medieval buildings often had a very limited footprint, and then they would expand to the sides as the floor goes up. And so this is a variant of that, and then there would be shops here. Something to be said though, Austrians clearly don't have many shops. Like in the city itself, I found on the square, I found like 2 cafes, I found a pharmacy, I found a place that sold tobacco and tickets, and you know, DM, a shop with hygiene things, and that's about it. There was not like there's maybe a pizzeria or something, but no corner store. I didn't see. Do you not have corner stores? I think you only have like you are like Germans. Germans have basically behind the city, a very short distance, you would have like a big supermarket, and that's how they shop. And then in the city itself, you have like very limited options where to actually shop, apart from like restaurants, basically. That's different here, where on every freaking street corner you see a small scale shop with, you know, various things you can buy. Even like slightly larger convenience stores are a thing that are very common. Well, I didn't see that there. Maybe it's just a thing in law, I don't know. But, you know, maybe it's a cultural thing. I'm more just gonna have to clarify that. Well, not that extreme. I don't think there were that many, but there are like 2 pharmacies and like 3 cafes or something. Yeah, this is just one. I'm gonna show you more. This one, this is a Rathaus. This is their village or city hall building. Quite large, pretty nice. This also looks like something you would find in like a smaller city, or even here in Prague as buildings go. Very big, obviously very nicely done. It's also you know, older but renovated, very nice. It does have some sort of banking in it as well. It's not just a town hall, but I think main purpose of it is it being a town hall. This is the front. Clock tower, must have a clock tower on a Rathaus. Again, very similar to how our things look like. It goes to show how similar the cultures are. Statue of something, I don't know of what. It's some sort of soldier, maybe. Looks like he has a shield, an armor, and a sword, so most likely. Pretty nice, just a little bit damaged, but you know, it's a thing. I like old things like this to give flavor to a place. Mort says, the last 30 years have been hard for village centers. Traditional family shops have declined, and big supermarket chains prefer to build new buildings with huge parking lot on the outskirts because they don't have to pay rent. It's a blight on the landscape. Yes, but I was kind of correct in that it's similar to Germany, where this exact thing is present as well. In here, not so much. But you know why? There's actually something to it. And that is, hey Morris, welcome. There are a group of people who've moved here even during commie times actually. Communists didn't allow movement of peoples, mostly, but what they did allow is their fellow countries, like, you know, actually something to... I usually shit on the communists a lot on channel, so listen here, they've done something, like some things that were actually kinda redeeming, but not really if you compare it to the freaking mountain of war crimes and things they did. But, you know, there are some things they did which are not absolutely terrible. Like, they sent industrial equipment to countries in Africa, they sent industrial equipment to Cuba, they've sent things to Asia, to especially Vietnam, to help recover after the war. They accepted Vietnamese migrants to study and also work here, which not like insanely huge amounts of them settled here, but there are some. Plus Cubans did that as well. Some of them moved here. Not like a huge amount. Today you would not find many people with their descent or anything, because, you know, even after like 2 generations they kind of lose themselves in the general population because of how that works. If there's not too many of them, it is not like a huge problem, especially if the culture itself is not like invasive. It's just, these were very different, but with the Vietnamese culture there is a bigger problem. They do grow like a parallel society. They don't actually like integrate. They just make their own thing, and then even after 2 generations, their children speak Vietnamese. They don't really, you know, a lot of their children do that. Not everyone, but it could be a bit of an issue. But they are not aggressive. They are not anything like that. They just, you know, they are hardworking people, and they are still here. And a lot of them are still identified as people who came back there back then. Same as other people who've moved in more recently, and these people are usually the ones who are running these corners, small corner shops, because government grants them limited taxation because, you know, they support small businesses like that. But funnily enough, not many Czechs would be willing to sit in a shop like that for, you know, 16 hours a day, and so they kind of don't have a competition unless we talk supermarkets, which they shop in these supermarkets and then resell the goods to other people, which it's finding a gap in the market. That's how market works. I'm just explaining how things work here. Bruffa says, I love the towns that still have a nice style in buildings, typically older towns and buildings. Nearly all modern architecture is dead and ugly. Yeah, I would agree with that. I've seen plenty of modern stuff, and a lot of it is really awful. Not everything, but like vast majority of it is just, what the fuck is that? Why is it a thing? I don't understand it. I'm most fond of like 18th, 19th century buildings, and we have lots of those around here. Probably harder to find in like outside Europe places, but yeah. What happened to the guy's hand? I don't know. It was eaten by something. No, as I said, the statue is damaged. We got the last one is fine. Yeah, I'm explaining what's it about. It's just, you know, as I said, they did something which kind of redeemed them in a way, where they at least tried to help countries which had really bad industrialization, where they didn't have any machines and nothing. They sent them machines and educated people to run them and teach them how to do it. And that's how they operate. Of course, they send it only to communist countries, but it benefited the people at large there. So it actually, like, you could see some of these machines still in operation today in some of these places, but a lot of them were lost due to time and everything. But still, it's one of the least evil things the communists did. But, you know, just so you know, it's not just, you know, the absolutely worst thing. They did a lot of that, but they also did something which was not absolutely terrible. So I feel obliged to talk about it, since, again, I shit on the communists a lot, and this is one of the things which I think is not absolutely horrendous, so I feel obliged to tell you that, just so that we can move on. Let's see, yeah, church, big church, very big church. This is my head. If there was a scale like of a person, this is a sign you could read on the church itself, so you'd be having a person like this size. Something like that. Pretty big church. This is a thing in a lot of Bohemian cities as well, or in small towns. Churches were a big cultural thing for the longest time, and pretty big ones. Also, they had dual purpose, especially in medieval times. Churches would be defensive structures. People would retreat there when the city itself was being raided or whatnot. And so this one is not the best example of it. And I suspect these windows might not have been there initially, because the point is you have windows being high up, like on fortifications, basically make it very hard to, even with a ladder, to get in there. So yeah, that's why a lot of those don't have that from medieval times. This was clearly like a renovated later. Hey Mario, welcome. Most Austrian towns or small cities have a well-preserved baroque core, just like the one in the picture. Also, I looked online, the statue represents Roland from the Song of Roland, medieval epic. Right, I know that, and Roland the epic is great. We learned about it in school, and I didn't know that. I didn't read the plug, I don't think, if there was a plug. But cool to see that. It's also very Germanic, by the way, but it's to be expected, I suppose. Yeah, church. Big clock tower, really nice. It had park around it, quite a big one. This is something that's called, in Czech. Hey Leonard, welcome. This is something that in Czech is called Morový slope, which is basically a plague monument, basically. That's what people built in medieval times when there was a plague and they got rid of it, and then they celebrated that God saved them from the plague, so they built this. It's in a lot of cities. Austrians have it as well, clearly. And so this one has sunlight behind it, so maybe I can find a better one. It's like from the side. But yeah, that's what people would build from, like, you know, because of the plague. Some of them are pretty big and elaborate. This one is like pretty big. It had like golden ornaments on it. A lot of statues. Yes, there was medical water. It was not like the best one I had, but that's because the baths. I'm gonna talk about the bath of it all a little bit later. For now, we're talking a bit about the town and the culture. But yes. That it doesn't count as a form of colonialism because reasons. I mean, no, that's like that's the opposite, basically. You just are giving them stuff because I'm gonna be slightly controversial here. But listen, colonialism, in a way, is a way for these countries which didn't have any industrial capability to get some. Not in a very good and fair way, but it did get them some advancement. Look at that as you will, but even to this day, in some countries which are kind of backwards, you have most of the things they have from, like, you know, more modern stuff, like industrial potential is still from this period. So, you know, it depends a lot on the country and a lot of the people who are running things. But same thing with, you know, colonizers would usually invest in their colonies at some point, not the most exploitative ones. Like, there are cases where it was like straight up exploitation, like for the rubber. Belgians did that with the rubber trade, which was like really awful. But I'm talking generally here. And so even if you had a colony, usually your own people would move there eventually and would develop local infrastructure, as well as institutions, as well as industrial potential, so that you don't have to ship buttload of, you know, raw goods across, because it was just not as efficient in history when you had Age of Sail. Or even a bit later, it was still a concern, more so than today. And so, so this is like the thing that communists did. It was basically like that, like colonialism, just without strings attached. They only asked for that from the country itself. Like, they would send machines, industrial machines, like, you know, agricultural tools, mechanized ones, and tools for fabrication of things in factories. They would send this to like big shipping containers full of this. They would send it to Cuba, and they would ask Cuba, you will owe us. And then Cuba would say yes, and we will send you rum and bananas, literally, because communists despise money. So this is how it worked. The values of these things were kind of crooked, so if it was like nearly as valuable, of course not. But that's how they did it, and I feel okay with it. You know, if it was a country that we could have helped a lot this way, I would even today like consider donating some of the unused agricultural tools and things like that as an investment to get a country going, if it was in a good faith to get them going and not exploit them, as well as just that the tools would not be immediately be sold and, you know, destroyed by the locals, which could happen in some countries. I mean, yeah, nothing wrong with bananas, but a banana is slightly less valuable than you know, industrial grade machine to produce anything you might want in a factory in 1960s. So, you know, yeah. What it says, I'm controversially not against colonialism. I'm mostly criticizing the hypocritical attitude South Africans had towards the Soviets versus Western Europe. Yeah. Also, there was a lot of aid from Soviet Union to like aid. It was again with strings attached to Africa. Same with the West actually. Like the Cold War saw battling for influence in countries. Which this is why North Korea is such a hellhole today, where North Korea is living as a vulture off of aid, and it threatens people to give them aid. Similar sort of deal happened in other undeveloped countries where the West and the East, even actually Soviet Union and China, would compete who they support in different like parts, because you know when Soviet Union lost their cult of personality and Mao was still running a thing in China, then they would have a shift where they would no longer saw each other as you're not the true communists, and therefore they would start to go against each other and even had a plan to invade and things like that. So they would battle for influence, and so it would be Soviets versus Chinese versus US, and everyone would be putting aid money and everything into a country to make them support them and not someone else, and to allow them to construct military installations and whatnot. And so this is how a lot of the countries got on a payroll, basically. Germans built up a lot of infrastructure in Namibia, mostly visible in and around capital of Windhoek. And they actually kept the infrastructure in good order since, and expanded the rest of the country with good dirt roads. Dirt roads since very arid, expensive region, so it makes more sense than tar roads. It's been a great boon for the country. I actually think Namibia had quite a few industries for raw diamonds. Namibia gained independence quite a while ago, one of the few Africa countries that didn't just let infrastructure go to waste. Yeah, that's good to know. And yeah, I think Germans had a plan that they hoped that there would be a little bit. South Africa has a lot of mining, it has a lot of diamonds as well, and they hoped that there were deposits of diamonds in Namibia. That's why they built it up as well, because they were thinking that there could be diamonds and other stuff there. But yeah, if the locals kept it, good. And tobacco, the most important part. Yeah, I mean it was for a very long time. Here I told that their colonial empire consisted of small sausage factory in Tanganyika. It is a meme, but no, that's actually not correct. Germans, Germans were not big into colonialism for a very long time, but after unification of Germany under the Prussians, what happened was the Germans looked at the world and they were like, holy shit, everyone has colonies. And so Kaiser supported it, and not only that, but even before, small-scale businessmen and groups from Germany were already establishing themselves, especially in South America and some places in Africa, where they would go and just buy a bunch of land and just settle there. And that's how they did it. And so the Kaiser looked and so, oh, holy shit, we already have places, just not officially, but it's a start. And actually, they did have quite a few things. There was actually something during Second World War. You had a place in Africa where Polish wanted to have a place where not Second World War. This was actually during the occupation of Poland by Russia, Prussia, and Austria, Hungary, when the Polish people were under subjugation, basically, and they wanted their own country, but everyone was taking a slice of the pie, and there was a partition of Poland, basically, and so they wanted a place in Africa where they would go and have their own country instead. Yeah, this is some stuff you don't learn every day, but that was the thing. Blame Blackadder for that name, yeah. I for that meme. Blackadder is really good entertainment. It's smarter variant of usual entertainment that a lot of people consume, but it still is misleading in a way because it's of course British centric a lot. Even if it makes fun of British things a lot, it also you know, doesn't go a long way to trivialize other nations all the time. That one went out of business. Okay, so Plague Monument thing. Otherwise, this is a street that leads to a park and then houses. This is how their street looked like. Very, like, they have a lot of flowers and things. On every, like, street you would have, like, a tree growing outside of sidewalk and then a little bit of a flower thing here or there. Very clean. They had very clean streets. Not many, like, you know, not many people who would be leaving refuse after their dogs or like throwing garbage away on the street, which is great. Also, it's important because people could trample this very easily if there's like a lot of foot traffic, but it seemed to be working for them. In here, I could already see it as being a problem. Like, we don't have problems with trash on the street too much, but it's definitely more than in Austria, I think. But it's mostly, speaking about Prague, not so much the smaller cities. We do have regular street cleaning and it's a culture here not to litter and it's punished quite severely, but some people still do it. It's just, you know, it's bad. But yeah, not much refuse anywhere. So this was great. Let's take a look. We found they have this like a best of someone, you know, on a street corner or something. Really good. I like this for flavor. I don't even know who this is. Some sort of cardinal, probably arrested or something. He has barbed wire wrapped around his head. This is I cannot read that. Oh no, Paul Gunther Frank. If that's the author or the person, I don't know. But yeah, good for flavor to have things like this. Hotel itself, or yeah, the park. So you can see, as I talked about that, on the left, this is still the park, right? And they have this, which is for bees and other flying insects to have habitat. And so they did, and also all sorts of like moths and winged things were flying in there, which is quite good. Not really. Hungary and Slovakia has many thermal water, but not medical water. Baths that are outdoor, not medical water. Usually, yeah, but there was an outside section in this one, but there's also inside, so it depends, like several pools. I actually was in Hungary and there was a bath that had inside and also slight outside place, but not a very large one outside. And that was thermal and medical as well. It's just, you know, you could be like 2 minutes swimming outside and you would be inside again. That's how it was. Something. Oh yeah, they had modern art in the park. I'm not a fan of that. I much rather see something cultural specific to Austria, not like whatever that is. But, you know, it's common in here as well. It's just, why? I much rather see something that's actually culturally relevant. Yeah, I mean, why would you? I just saw it in the distance. It's here as well. This is part of the hotel though. You can see that they cut the grass, otherwise very short. Yeah, Candle is local to here as well, so it's not their specific thing. Like, most of the cuisine is actually the same. I'm gonna talk about the cuisine in a bit, because it's a bit to get into. This is why this is gonna be slightly longer. I cannot like jump from place to place. I need to go through it in some sort of way, so that we have, you know, progression as well as things to talk about still. This is the hotel. This lower part this is the restaurant, there's a reception right there, and then these are the actual buildings with apartments. After that, you would have a sky bridge over to the actual spa area. I mean, it is like literally garbage. It's just, and the more garbage it is, the more cool it is in the eyes of these people. I don't understand it. It's really awful. Order and structural Germanic influence at work. Not sure about that, but you know, I like things nice and clean, and this was certainly it. It's just, again, infiltrated by this. I'd much rather see something cultural and relevant than this, but it's a thing, and it's a thing here as well. So I'm not gonna judge, but I'm gonna say it. I think about the things that I see here the same way. Why? Just why? Sell it as scrap metal and build something actually, you know, relevant. Yeah, there's a Japanese garden. They had like several small little ponds around the spa complex which you could like take a walk around, and I think they used the water that was also thermal, like filtered of course, but yeah, not for bathing. This was just for looks. Good, like it adds to the place. If you want to take a look in peace, take a walk, then you could walk around these places. They created like small little ponds. Pretty good. They didn't have a Japanese garden though. I didn't see any carps in the water, so I think that's crucial to have. Things. This I can actually show you. Yeah, this is the flags in front of the thing, and this is one of the ponds as I talked about. Artists who have powerful friends amongst politicians who buy their creations since normal people refuse to pay for it. Yep, pretty much spot on. And do you know also why? Art is a form of tax evasion amongst people who, you know, scam society with taxes, because art has a different taxation as opposed to other things, especially if you fund it as a charity of sorts. That's what happens a lot with a lot of wealthy people. It's official tax evasion. It's just, you know, a different tax rate for art. No matter, that's just literal garbage. Just if you need to funnel money, yeah. And actually, the more garbage it is, the better, because no one else will buy it from you, so you are safe to just, you know, switch hands multiple times to get the money where it needs to go, because no one will interfere with you buying little garbage for millions. Well, if it was actual art, there is a risk that someone could break the chain and actually buy it, and keep it, which is not what you want when you do this. Okay. Another one. Small little pond. This is the entrance. A lot of glass, of course, in this hotel. As I said, it's not a very historical building at all, but it's alright. A little bit. We didn't take many pictures in there. There was you couldn't photo in the actual bath complex. There could be something we could find on the internet, maybe. It's like one of the things. I'm not sure how visible that is. There's an outside part. The outside saltwater pool had 36 temperature Celsius, and yeah, it was very hot. 36 is a lot of heat. Plus, it was very hot weather overall when we were there. So I actually got a heat stroke from it. For one day, I was just completely knocked out. I couldn't even lay in peace. It was just, I was laying and just my mind, I couldn't even look at anything for like 2 seconds. I could just lay in the bed and just constantly wiggle around because I was not comfortable with anything. Those, you know, it was awful, but I managed to get through it in a day. It was not like a brutal heat stroke, but it was definitely awful. So yeah, be careful if you go to places like this. Bring a hat or something. I didn't have a hat. I was not in the sun for too long, but in combination with the very hot water, it was enough to give me a heat stroke. And yeah, some outside areas. The only really interesting part is the saltwater pool, and then there was another one which we didn't even go to. That's more like a swimming pool thing. But the inside areas had another one. This was private pool, and this was another, like, 2 of these circle things where you could go. There was a hotel pool as well, like a very silent one. Oh yeah, and a silent spa as well, which is a place where you can go and have, like, no kids in at all. Yeah, that's not good. Alright, music. Let's get it back. I'm gonna switch. I have some other music ready. Right, so what do we talk about? We talk about cuisine, right? So cuisine. So we only had breakfasts and dinners paid, and so lunch was usually something from the buffet at the hotel or something at the town. The buffet was alright. There's like huge portions of food for me personally. Like, you would order a schnitzel, and the schnitzel would be like 3 schnitzels and a pile of fries, and the schnitzels themselves would be actually quite, like, it's not as common here, but it would be very thinly smacked, so it's very thin and large, and you had 3 of these on top of each other on a plate. It was insane. Couldn't eat it all, and that was alright. I like that. I like other things as well that there were. Yeah, very good schnitzel. It was pig schnitzel, but pork. But it actually, like, it was fine. I usually don't like pork schnitzels here because people will just take like a slab of pork with fat and everything and just fry it, and that's just not good because it's just awful. But this schnitzel was so well done that you didn't really feel any change of texture or anything, and it was, you know, uniform, nice, good. Yeah, goulash soup as well. I think, like, Bohemian and also Hungarian heritage kind of melts into Austrian cuisine quite a bit. Schnitzel bits have to be lean and thin. Yeah, that's how you do it, and that's how it should be. Yeah, you are completely right. But some people here do that, which is awful. Not so much restaurant people, but like my mother cooked schnitzels like this. I don't like that. So yeah, other things. The one complaint, the breakfast was Swedish table, that's how it's called here, which is basically you come to the breakfast and then there are tables with anything you could want for breakfast, and you just take a plate and take whatever you'd like and then have it, and then you can leave. And it's mostly cold things as well as just, you know, roasted wieners, which is great, you know, German and Austrian thing. One of the foods I'm most fond to look on is not sure the schnitzel. Even from my vacations in Germany, I like the sausages the most. They're really good. The small ones, the small grill sausages are really good, and they have it as well in Austria. I think it tastes basically the same. There might be slight difference in ingredients, but it's not apparent to me. So they had that, they had hash browns, they had like shit ton of things you could want. Eggs, fried, boiled, the scrambled, anything. They're very good quality as well, this specific hotel. So all the food was top quality. You had as much of it as you would want. I'm not usually like a huge eater, so I wouldn't really eat that much cake either. But there were people who would eat a lot. There's something to be talked about with Czech tourists. So when we were there, this is very close to the border. Obviously, there were some Czech tourists in there. We saw it was like maybe 50% of all the tourism there was Czechs. One thing that's like something I really hate about Czech tourists is that I'm gonna read some chat and I'm gonna talk about it. I need to formulate my thoughts a little bit. We have thick schnitzels here in Milan. They're good. They have a bone sticking out of it. I mean, that's like a steak sort of deal. With schnitzel, it's a bit different. I definitely prefer the thin one. But it's just, you know. You know how long you have to beat a slice of meat to get it that thin and lean? It's more of a feeling than science, but a good schnitzel gets tenderized for several minutes. We even use a special tool for it. Oh yeah, Schnitzelklopfer, which is a hammer, right? We also have a hammer for schnitzels. So you should use it, just some people elect to not use it. And then it's just, as you said, you eat a show soul. Hey Alex, welcome. Okay, so a thing I hate about Czech tourists, it's you go on a vacation, and you bring your family, right? So imagine that you've paid some money for it, you took free time from your work to do it, it's your thing you should do, you go to the baths to relax, you go so that you don't have to think about rudimentary things and just generally have a good time. What's the first thing you're gonna talk about very loudly in the cafeteria or in the hotel, restaurant or whatever? Well, if you are Czech, then apparently the first thing you're gonna just blatantly boast about it's like very loudly talk about with the whole table is, oh, this is freaking expensive and how much did I pay for this and that, where? Like, what the actual fuck? I'm not, like, obviously, I'm in Austria, it's gonna cost slightly more than at home. Second of all, it's a tourist destination, so even in Bohemia, if you go to tourist destinations, you will pay more than regularly. So 2 reasons why this shouldn't be a surprise. Third thing, yeah, it's so cringe, I hate that so much. Third thing, why bother? Like, it's not worth your time. You are ruining your vacation by thinking about just insane, pointless things. This is what they do because it's obsession. It's obsession. And I talked about this before, and it actually goes back. It's the communists who did this. They corrupted our nation's spirit. People only worship money nowadays because they've taken away everything that kept moral integrity of the nation and destroyed it over the course of 50 years of overlordship. And so today, people have replaced communism with basically worshipping money, and that's what they do. And I don't understand, I personally hate it, but they do it, a lot of them do it. It's really awful. Not a spiky surface for macerating meat properly. Yeah, you probably, it looks like exactly as, this is what usual Czech household would have in their drawers. Loudly complaining about how expensive everything is universal. Happens here all the time. Does it? I feel a little better that I know it happens to other people as well. I just find it insane. Like, I go on a vacation and that's the first thing I loudly talk about? Really? That's the concern you have? Like, yeah, if it's like really expensive, then you might not have it. You could just have whatever else. Or, you know, maybe talk about it a little bit, but like it's the main thing around which everything in your universe revolves around when something's bad. Because, you know, that's not normal in my eyes. It's just insane. Why would you do that? You are wasting your life doing things that are pointless. Money is pointless. Money is just a means to get something you need, but it's not important. The important part is how you live and what you do. And the money is just to get you there, not the other way around. You don't live for money. classic is Italians complaining about Italian food outside of Italy. Yeah. I mean, I could get that as well. If you were really hardcore Czech cuisine guy, you could also do that in Austria, where you could complain about the food not being as it exactly should. But again, I don't really care. Like, a lot of it was very accurate. Not everything, but it doesn't need to be. I like to have variations, and if someone takes a food from here and makes a variation of it, I actually like that. I think it's good. Just take what you like and discard whatever you don't like. That's fine. You know, that's how cuisine and everything evolves. It's just that some people might be more aggressive towards it, especially Italians. I think the meme is that, you know, it's Italians are very passionate about this, which is fine. You know, it's kind of funny to me, but maybe to you it's triggering because you are from Italy, so you might see it as a bad thing. For me, it's kind of ridiculous, but then again, if I saw it like 5 times a day, I would not like it, of course. Passionate is an understatement. Passionate, yeah. More like... That's one thing Swedes love to complain about when going to Norway. The pizzas there are close to being twice as expensive as here. Okay. I mean, if it's twice, you kind of get it. But... you could like complain a bit, but I wouldn't spend like, in my eyes, complaining for an hour about something. It's not worth my time. Especially if it's something I don't care about relating to money. To me, more important things are basically anything than money is more important. Money is just means to an end. It's not something that I should spend time like screeching about. It's why. Why would I do that? It's just... I don't see it as a very important facet of life. You need it, it's very important, but it doesn't mean that you should think about it much. It just brings you stress and it's pointless, virtually pointless. You will just hurt yourself. It really does. The screaming and complaining about the price and how they're getting ripped off is way too common here. Yeah, I guess that's the state of human nature. Like, we do it to an extent, everyone does, but I feel like we do it more than most people. If you go to any Adriatic town, both in Croatia or Venetia, Jesolo, Karlak, Grado, etc., it's entirely full of Austrians talking about the prices. Yeah, maybe it is more common than I thought. It's just, I mostly hear our people talk about it, so that's why I felt like I hate it. Every time I hear it, I don't like it. I don't like to hear it, but people do enjoy talking about that. I wouldn't go to Norway and eat pizza. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, if I go somewhere, I'm not gonna order some generic food, most likely, unless I'm there for a longer time. What were we talking about? Food. Right. We had some cultural things. The bad thing. Okay, I'm gonna get into it. The bad thing. I didn't like the dinners. Not because they were full of Austrian food. No, quite the contrary. The dinners, we chose a hotel that was way too fancy for us. Like, I would much rather have like grandmother's cooking, local food sort of deal, rather than this. This was, you know, fully clothed as if you were to go to a freaking theater, preferably. You would be having a person assign a table for you and then constantly pester you with refilling your drinks and bring you whatever, like 5 different assortments of eating utensils. And then this was every freaking dinner. And then the food itself was, you know, 3 courses and just like stuff I wouldn't necessarily call Austrian. Like, it's just generic European food. Yeah, but I'm not about that. I just don't enjoy it. Just, you know, give me a knife, give me a fork, and give me some local good food. That's what I want. And let me service myself. Like, let me get my own drinks or whatever. I'm fine with that. I don't need to be constantly looked after. I'm not a baby. But this was clearly for like the more fancy people, so we had to, like, you know, adhere by this, which was fine. I can't do it, it's just I don't like it. It's not something I enjoy. And the food itself was not local, which was like, I don't know. I much rather prefer to have local food. But they had like, you know, one fish, one vegetarian food, and one something else usually. What is this talk of? Bag is full of Italian teens 20 something year olds getting drunk. So it's called the best place in the Adriatic. What's the answer? Yeah, I mean the uniforms of the staff were pretty cool. But here hotels usually have them as well. I didn't see any officers, by the way. No military, no police. Which was a bit odd. In here I usually would see a patrol or two over the course of the time there, maybe even more. So that's the thing in Germany I noticed as well. You don't see cops much. You only see them when you've done something really bad. Or like very rarely when something happens, but usually like they don't do patrols much, I don't think. In here we do, and I also think that's kinda you know, communist thing, because people needed to be kept under close watch, so patrolling was actually something fairly common, even if it was not strictly necessary for the crime reasons of it. It kind of kept itself over the course of the years, even today, where police still do that. They not control population, but they still do patrol, which sometimes they stop things from happening. It does happen, but a lot of the time it's just pointless. Deconstructed food, IKEA food. Assemble it yourself. That's also fine. Here, have a deconstructed schnitzel, sir. Here's the flour. Here's the potato. Here's the chicken. I recommend biting the head of the yeast. Not that extreme. But yeah, like, you know, if you build a burger yourself and you have different ingredients, that's fine. But if it's like, I need to make my own food, then why go to the restaurant? It's like the other extreme, you know. We should bring back grandma cooking at places like this. I mean, for sure, I think that, but some people might not think that. Maybe you like it, I don't know. It's just for me, this kind of feels pointless. I don't go to a place to eat just no-name fancy food and sit around in fancy clothes. It's, you know, not my thing. But maybe some people like that. I got the impression as well where, like, at least half the people were similar sort of deal, like, about this. They weren't super stoked about this. But that's the thing. Instead of a key, instead of a fork, you use an alien key to eat. Okay, so we talked about the food, we talked about the culture, we talked about the water, did we? Yes, we talked about the water. We talked about the town. Do you have any questions? It has been an hour and 10 minutes, a long stream for just talking. So I think that sums it up pretty well. I don't want to end on a negative note. That was one of the few complaints I had. It was the dinners, but I had to talk about it at some point. So I kept it for the end, which might not have been the best. How large was the town? Not big. You can see it on the map here, and like in comparison, if we go to how large Vienna is on the map. This is Vienna, okay? This is this is La. It's not very big. So, you know, this is the bath complex, basically. This is its parking lot, and this is the rest of the town. This was the main square, I think, and then you had, like, small streets with houses and whatnot. Some shops around the vicinity. Maybe, why do I do that? Layers, satellite, terrain, more... Satellite. There we go. Yeah, oh, I mean, fields are everywhere here. If you look at the map, fields are absolutely everywhere. is the church we went to. This is the plague monument. This is the square with the Rathaus. Bus will drop you off here, or it can also bring you all the way here. This is the main bath area, inside and also outside area. We weren't in this pool, but we were in this part, which this is a salt water pool. That's really good. We weren't in this one, and then there is Silent Spa as well, which is without children. It's extra though. Oh yeah, something we didn't talk about. Procedures were paid extra. No massages as part of the actual vacation, which was a bit disappointing. I don't like to complain about money, but I would expect at least basic things to be there. So we did have to pay extra for that. But I'm kind of fine with that. You know, it allows you to pick whatever you want. No strings attached as well. Like, you don't feel like you have to be there at every day at specific hours, so you can tailor it to your needs. It's like run by Nurgle cult. No, it's every city in Central Europe has that. We built this for some reason. People did that in medieval and, you know, early modern period as well, where just plague happened. Let's build a giant thing to God that we survived it, or some of us did. It does look out of place. But, you know, it's not that intrusive. And it's not straight up village, like, it's a small town. Some of these are quite big buildings, actually. But a lot of it is, like, you know, old, very nice. But this is, like, modern, you know. So, yeah, not great. But they did try their best to surround it with nice things. So, I guess that's good. Just about 35 Celsius most of the week, in below 30, yeah. You see the shopping complex to the lower left. Here. Yeah, I mean, that's what I described earlier, and you confirmed that that's how you do things. There's also, where is the parking lot? Parking lot, and this is also some things like that. Spar, Interspar. So this was slightly more convenient, but still, not a corner shop, it's still a corporation. Yeah, the rectangular blocks. 22 by 6. If there's interest, I can do similar stream about my upcoming Chinese trip. Sure, if you feel like it more, feel free to do it. Just post in the Discord so that we know. It's hard to catch and remember all the things. I wonder if we have a plague monument in Milan. Apparently one of the times people decided that setting fire to the afflicted areas was a good thing. But they forgot that killer technique times and so many people died. Okay. Well, yeah, that's called fumigation, I think. And they did that. Usually with a forethought, though, they would demolish some parts and then just burn out the plague from some parts of the city. I think Italy should have that as well. Like, the culture was fairly similar and religious as well, so I would not be surprised to see that in an Italian city as well. It's just an odd thing to see, like, from logical perspective today, but they did that. People did that. Even Trutnov has that. The city where I come from has one such monument. For me, it will be very interesting to see how my Shanghai has changed after the Rona. Right. Yeah, that's probably gonna be pretty big. I never rose to China, obvious reasons. My uncle from my family, he traveled a lot. He was in China several times. Like, even a long time ago, 20 years ago, he was one of the engineers going there to help them build like some power plants, something. And he did describe some cultural things even at the time. I mean, which it evolved a lot. Like China has been changing a lot lately over the past 20 years. You could see big changes, but still, it would be interesting what you think about things there and how it looks like and how everything works. Be good to have as an experience. Where's the Granada? Yeah, it's Kornspeicher, isn't it, in German? I think it is. Yeah, we don't have a Granada, right? No, we don't. But we have enough wood. There is enough wood. Anyways, that's gonna be it. So, what are we gonna do today? I'm back, so we can do streams. I'm going to do Hearts of Iron 4 stream. I'm not sure if you will like it. I want to do it. I want to play Hearts of Iron 4. Thanks. Yeah, it's good to, give you some information. Mort asked for it. I don't usually do this. But Jack does it, and I think it's good. So that you get like sum up if you ever would want to visit the place, or like what are my thoughts on it. It's, of course, you might have a different experience. But I learned something as well from you and what you think, which is good. So I don't think it's a waste of time to have it. I'm probably gonna go and post this on YouTube as well if someone wants to like follow what we do a bit. It helps to build a community a bit as well, where you get to you get to contribute and talk as well, because just chatting is at least half about you as it is about me. So I'm glad that you showed up, because otherwise this would be very awkward. You're looking forward to Hearts of Iron? Good. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, sure, no problem, Mark. Thanks for watching. Not playing Hearts of Iron 4. Is there Hearts of Iron 4? I don't think we will ever see that. Paradox is gonna milk it for the last dollar. This is like an improvised history stream, so yeah, sort of. But we talked about everything, so it's not just about the vacation itself. Anyways, I've been rambling for long enough, so I'm gonna be back in like 20 minutes with Hearts of Iron. Until then, see you around. Bye. I'm gonna send you off on a raid to get some extra salt. So I need you to get salt so you can torture me with CC later this week. Do it. Let's see. Is there someone? Right channel? One person. You can see this most likely. That's fine. You have 50,000. Good. Tanotuba DLC one. Tanotuba is pain. You have to be communist to have a chance. Because Karl Marx will print men. No more to be said.